So, I think we could all agree that the new endgame mode in Wuthering Waves, yeah, that one kinda sucks. While it was already receiving criticism on its launch, the first reset has incited intense backlash from the community, and one scroll through really any social media platform will show hundreds upon thousands of disgruntled players, and they got those feedback reports ready. But let's really try and figure out what the issue with this game mode is, and maybe come up with some solutions that Kuro Games can implement. And if not, maybe they can get some inspiration from it. I'm 𝗖𝗆𝗆𝗵𝘁, and I wanted to talk about what exactly the issues are with Whimpering Waste. For the love of God, please change that name. Before we get started, I'm aware that Kuro Games is already looking into the issue and are going to adjust it for 2.2. But as of right now, we're unaware of what exactly they're going to adjust. And let's be real, more than likely it'll be a band-aid rather than a full-blown fix for now. So it's something we can still and should talk about. Let's address the elephant in the room. Whimpering Waste is Kuro's third iteration of endgame, right alongside Tower of Adversity and Hologram Battles. Wuthering Waves is mostly known for its insanely fun, high-octane, and extremely satisfying combat mechanisms, so a lot of players are interested in seeing what Kuro does to utilize this combat system in the endgame. The thing is though, this event don't fucking use it. For an event that's considered combat-centric, I've had more intense fights when I'm bathing my cat. Why is that? Simple. The AI fucking sucks. The mobs are mindless and just stand there. They rarely attack. They don't have any interesting mechanics. They are essentially just training dummies. You sit there for 2 minutes watching the timer slowly drain away as you wail endlessly at 𝗵𝗵𝗆𝗵𝗵, the Lottie-Lots, and those fuck-ass wolves. Oh, we're getting to you. Don't worry. Listen, I understand this is supposed to be the event that is AoE focused. We have TOA, which focuses on getting your rotations down so you're delivering the most DPS at a consistent rate, while holograms are meant to bring you a Souls-like-esque challenge and puts your skills to the test. But for the most part, you're running bossing characters that utilize insane burst damage and punish the enemies with single target damage. It's not exclusive though. You can find a plethora of videos of people using their Geons absolutely decimating these contents, but the ideology of having specific game modes cater to specific archetypes of characters isn't new. HSR is honestly the perfect example with how characters can be T0 in one mode and absolute dog shit in another. So here comes WhiWa, the game mode for the spin to win, vacuum sucking, press one button, smack 'em all characters. But they still suck. Now, that's exaggeration. Camellia and Gion practically ran the first set of WhiWa, and Camellia is still incredible in this set. But for whatever reason, they decided they didn't want the AoE characters to be as good in this set, in the AoE focused game mode. You have enemies that might as well be Byakuyo's Bankai the way they scatter. They go so far that even Camellia in her Blossom mode, you know, the mode where she spins across the screen like a fucking pinwheel, yeah, she can't reach them.
Yeah, Camellia on side 2 is a little bit of a disaster, man. These wolves just kind of are not it.
You have these stupid wolves that circle you and back away right at the beginning of the fight, and you can't even pull them in because for whatever reason they have super armor and can't be CC'd. Like, you're essentially eradicating half of Gion's ultimate value by having these wolves not be able to be sucked in, which, by the way, you could suck them in any other instance of their appearance. You can't pull them in with Yang Yang, you can't pull them in with Gion, you can't pull them in with Jian Shin. Upon further research, you can indeed hold them still with Jian Shin and Yang Yang. You're still not getting any points though, so point still stands. You can maybe slow them down with 𝗖𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗵𝘁, but from my personal experience, maybe it's a skill issue, 𝗖𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆 can get pretty rough in this game mode. Even the 𝗵𝗵𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆 running at least is something you can interact with. But they fucking move back too. So Kuro, please tell me, who am I combating in this brand new permanent challenge gameplay? Oh. Okay, listen, I get it. Time attack modes have been a thing for ages. The most basic way of testing someone's ability is seeing how fast they can complete something. Speedrunning is popular for a reason. But it really gets to a point where it just comes across as lazy game design. You're fighting the timer more than anything else in this game mode, and you're being tested on how fast you can beat these dummy mobs senseless. But considering we already have a timer in TOA and hologram, do we really need another way to flex how fast our credit card fed characters can smack up Lottie Lot over there? It's repetitive and just an easy way to make the players think, man, if I only did 2.359195,199 more damage, then maybe I can do this. And when majority of the people challenging this event have invested in their characters and have to rely on RNG to get rewards before they refresh, what are they gonna do? They're gonna take their wallet out and just start swiping away. It's predatory, but even more than predatory, it's lame and boring. But let's be real, the timer isn't going anywhere. I'm beating a dead horse, but who knows? Maybe we'll have another devs listen moment. So what else completely fucked this reset? Well, a big factor was a universal buff given to the Infinite Torrent stage, which is the main culprit we're targeting here. For this reset, the unique buff given states that crit damage taken by the enemies is increased by 50%. At first glance, it might not seem that big of a deal until you realize it is a massive nerf from the first iteration's unique buff, which stated damage taken by the enemies is increased by 50%. So we went from a generic overall damage buff to a buff given only when you crit. This minor change creates a huge damage disparity, which as you can see led to the absolute shit show that is the player experience of this Whimpering Waste set. Now you might be asking, well, as long as you're critting, you're going to do damage. If your characters are built, then you should have a lot of crit, so what's the issue? Ah, my sweet summer child, what a sensible notion to have. You see, this all boils down to stat optimization, which we're not going to talk about because that's a whole can of nerd bait that is not the focus of this video. The TLDR, no character should typically run a 100% crit rate because of diminishing returns and how those stats can be allocated elsewhere. If you're familiar with RPGs, you should understand that concept very well. Is it fun to have 100% crit? Yeah. Should you have that in raw stats? I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. That's where the tokens come in. The tokens are essentially buffs that you can apply to each individual team to give you an edge in combat. There are typically various forms of damage buffs depending on your type, a boost in stats, or just a generic damage buff. There are a few exceptions to this, but they all boil down to use this buff if you're using this character. We'll talk about how lame and boring that is in a bit. Anyway, a gold tier token, which is the highest level token you can unlock, from the last set stated that after casting intro skill, increases crit rate of all resonators in the team by 40% and crit damage by 80% for 15 seconds. With how integral intro skills are to the combat, this buff was insane, and honestly saved units that weren't fully built. But lo and behold, this token does not make an appearance in the reset where you have a crit damage buff. This single decision made it so that you are almost assured to not have a good 100% uptime on the buff that you are supposed to be given for free. Kura, what the fuck were you cooking with this? In fact, alongside this token, another token was taken away and replaced. Replaced with something so incredibly inferior, it's almost insane. Instead, we got a token that buffed damage when you attack mid-air, and a token that buffs resonance liberation damage by 120%. These sound good on paper, but in actuality, they do almost fuck all. Granted, the mid-air one isn't as bad as it's worded, because you actually get the buff just by jumping. But the problem is that you get a mere 5% damage increase over a purple token that just gives you a generic 25% buff for free. What the fuck is this design? Why are these tokens so bad? The only gold token that remains from the last one is one that is hyper specific to Phoebe, who doesn't even run that well in this game mode. So what the fuck are we doing here? Besides promoting the current on-banner characters. Gotcha game moment. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Even aside from the crap golden tokens, the majority of the tokens are just generic and bland. Like I mentioned before, they all boil down to use this if you want to use this character. They range from generic damage amps to really restrictive generic damage amps. What's the point of having all these tokens when they all do the same thing and have almost zero interaction with the current on-stage buff? The only viable one that people have found any success in is the Plunderer's Captain Seal, which does an AoE burst of damage on every 6th instance of healing. Wow, an AoE token that actually does well in the AoE event. It's almost like more of these tokens should actually do more than just let me do 30% more damage when I'm doing somersaults like a fucking monkey in the air. If you can't tell, all these issues really start piling up to create an experience that is truly miserable. And it's not just a small issue that only some people are facing. People on almost every social media platform are talking about how ass it is. And I'm sure there's someone thinking, well, I was able to do it, so honestly, just a skill issue, and you guys are just greedy and stupid. Okay, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. No one's talking to you. Look, I beat it too. Right there, there's the proof. But that doesn't change the fact that the mode has serious issues. Just cause you can do it doesn't mean that the mode is balanced and well adjusted and fun. So what should we look for in fixes? Let's start small. Change the tokens. Please, at the very least, give us a token that actually helps the player fully utilize the stage buff. If not the one from the previous stage, just give one that increases crit rate. It's that simple. But I also think we should aim bigger. I think all the tokens should be overhauled. They're all lame and boring. Notice how I've said that about a lot of things regarding this event? The tokens have the potential to completely turn this event around and allow people to really be creative. Gacha games tend to have this issue where there isn't really a wide range of builds for characters, unlike traditional RPGs like Baldur's Gate 3 or MMOs where you could have full control over your character. Your DPS will usually have a combination of the crit stats plus specific stats that they utilize in their passive or skills. Your supports are using a healing set, and your sub DPS are using something to buff your main DPS. So, in terms of playstyle, there isn't much you can change. However, the Plunderer token that we talked about earlier has allowed people to really show how creative they can get and allow unconventional alterations to their builds to help clear the event. I've seen people toss around the idea of healing Yanwu and his electric pillars to get more healing. People are subbing in 𝗖cie for a crazy healing uptime, and equipping the cost 1 Cruise Fly Echo to get more healing ticks to proc the electro damage. Even just recently, Gacha Smack just uploaded a video showing how another token beside the Plunderers can be useful when you deviate from the established playstyle of specific characters. This event can be so much fun if you're allowed more diversity in the tokens. Like, seriously, you cannot tell me the best you can come up with is have an Echo come help you, which, by the way, this fucker does nothing. I didn't even notice it was on the field till the stage ended. Is that the max points? 1450? Oh, were you the Echo? I don't even know if this motherfucker did anything. Make a token that summons a cyclone every 10 hits and it gathers enemies. Make a token that causes mini explosions every time you use a skill. Make a token that aggroes the enemies and make them more aggressive, but also more susceptible to damage. Make a token that, I don't know, when you have the assisting Echo, it could copy the ult of your current character and use it every couple of seconds. I don't know, do something other than the generic buffs that don't really help. Hell, you could use some of the crazy character buffs from Elusive Realm, tweak them to be used on any character, and slap that in as a token. Also, please buff the gold tokens. If the gold tokens are unlocked near the end and are supposed to be better than the purples, please make it more noticeable, because this mid-air shit, ass. If you're gonna have me altering my gameplay for buffs, make it substantial at the very least. If I'm going to be real though, I think the concept of this game mode needs a complete overhaul. We all know this game mode was derived from the pincer maneuver events that they sprinkled throughout the previous patches. All the feedback that they received from those events directly resulted in the creation of WhiWa. But here's the thing, people didn't like pincer maneuver even back then. I was neutral, I didn't have much of an opinion, but I understood that the mode was less than desirable, and honestly, it was one of the events that I would roll my eyes to whenever I had to do it. I think we need to scrap this whole kill the waves in X amount of minutes idea. It's not fun, it's boring, it's not even challenging. It's just annoying when the game imposes weird conditions, then gives us toys that are supposed to help combat these conditions, but in reality do nothing. If you want to keep it AoE focused, that's perfectly fine. There are a bunch of ways to do that without telling us to kill this before the time runs out. Give us a combo meter, or a counter that gives us more points based on how many hits we land in succession before we get hit. Give us more points based on how many enemies we kill at the same time, or within a small time frame, like, I don't know, 3 to 5 seconds. Or implement both and make it so that the combo meter gives us a score multiplier. And for the love of God, make the enemies actually combative and not just a nuisance. I'm not asking for hardcore retaliation from the tiny bear idiots, but please, give me something to actually be wary of besides the high chance of some idiot mob losing his way and jacking off in the corner. But you know what I think they should really do? Just turn this mode into a tower defense or swarm mode. Kuro practically calls it that in their own advertisement for the game mode. Right there. Born of Evil Tides, swarms of casted discords. It says it right there. Like, just turn it into a tower defense mode. You guys have done tower defense modes before. Just make this one a bit more interesting. It'll fit the whole story narrative of the world having to defend against these tacit discord invasions. You can still implement unique tokens, and if you really want to make it challenging, just add weird conditions and mess around with the wave difficulty. Have it start spawning bosses like Scar or 𝗖cie past a certain wave. Make it an endless horde mode, where we can compete to see how long we can fight them off, either before we die or before the thing we're defending dies. Take our healing away past a certain wave. That way we can keep the AoE focus, we can keep the tokens, we can get rid of the timer, and we can have a game mode that is challenging, but doesn't make me feel like I'm putting my proverbial balls in a blender. Of course, this is just my personal idea, and maybe there are issues with it as well, but that's the point, right? To start conversation, to throw ideas around, and help developers deliver something that we'd enjoy and something they're proud of. I know this video is mostly me critiquing WhiWa, but it truly comes from a place of love. Wuthering Waves is one of the few gacha games that I found myself genuinely enjoying, and maintaining my interest despite its rocky start. I've been nothing but impressed seeing how it's improved over time, and this isn't the end of the world, and Kuro has shown that they're listening and wants to make things right. It's just a trip along the way, nothing that can be fixed as long as we keep maintaining a healthy relationship with Kuro as a consumer, and as long as they keep striving to make Wuthering Waves be seen as the AAA game they want it to be. So let me know, what do you guys think of these ideas? What were your experiences with the game mode, and what do you want to see from Kuro games moving forward? Let me know in the comments below, and if you guys want to see more, you can always check me out on Twitch, where I stream Wuthering Waves. I also stream Marvel Rivals, and honestly I just stream whatever, but you'll probably catch me playing Wuthering Waves whenever things are happening. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Also give us more Echo experience and tuners. Okay, bye!